Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dr. Doctor, the show where no topic is too hot or too cold. Whether it's politics, religion, relationships, entertainment, or everyday life, you will be hearing from the experts. This show is not for the faint of heart or the faint of mind. But if you want to be inspired, you have come to the right place. And now, prepare to be enlightened as we introduce the host of Dr. Doctor, Dr. Peter Tassi, and his close advisor, Dr. Fooch.
Welcome to Dr. Doctor. Thanks for joining us again, and today we're fortunate to have Junior back with us. And we're going to talk about an important topic today, education and its value. You know, here in Ontario, Canada, the education is basically bankrupting the province. The price of education is so high, I think it equals or is more so than even healthcare. I might be wrong on that, but it's certainly first or second. When you look at the cost of education, and the primary cost is not so much the capital expenses, building the buildings, providing the books, it's wages. And you look at our teachers here and our teachers across the country, and I know some areas of the States is going through this. The wages of teachers and the wages of administrators is astronomical. Where in the world can you get a job where you work 8 months of the year? You have a phenomenal benefit package. You've got a phenomenal retirement fund. And you're working 8 months a year, 6 hours a day. Now, I was in education for many years. Teachers will cut it this way and that way. You know, we need more money for books. We need more money for smaller class sizes. We need more money for resources. What it comes down to is when you're in the staff room, and I talk from experience, teachers are talking about what's the pay increase. Should a teacher be getting $100,000 a year for 8 months of work, 6 hours a day? Now, those that coach and do extracurricular, there's an extra couple hours a day for part of the season. But generally speaking, their wages, I think, have gone through the roof. And I think that education is bankrupting the province. They don't seem to have any care about this. I've talked to teachers. I had one teacher say to me, "We are worth $250,000 a year." $250,000 a year. There are guys out there climbing roofs, building buildings, working in 40 degrees below zero weather, risking their life every day, getting injured. How many guys on the construction site lose a finger, bashed up? By the time they're 50, they got to retire. You can't even climb a ladder anymore. And they make half that amount what a teacher makes working 8 months a year and 6 hours a day. And they think, like this guy, he thought he was actually worth $250,000. It's so insane and ludicrous. The greed is so rampant. And I think too there is with high school with all teachers and university, post-secondary education. The professors think the same way. You know, they believe that they're of infinite value, independent of what it's cost in society. The taxpayers, the debt that their children and grandchildren will inherit has no bearing on that greed for another pay raise. And so what I want to discuss with you, Junior, today is, what is the value that we're getting for the money we're spending? Are our kids benefiting from it? Is education outdated? Is it something that, you know, you can go on Google now and get a university degree just studying yourself? if you're self-motivated. Everything, all the knowledge we need in the world is basically at our fingertips with the internet, and of course there are libraries that provide resources. And so number one, are we getting value for the dollar that we're spending, paying these teachers to educate our kids? Number two, is what we're getting, or is what our kids are getting, of value to them? Because we've got all these kids coming out of university, BAs, MAs. It's like they say, BA, MA, MEd, PhD, but no JOB. They can't get a job. There's students coming out of university with an undergrad degree, and they end up working as bistros in a coffee shop. The service industry is the industry in Canada anyway that's hiring. Other than that, there are no hiring. So are these kids being bamboozled? Are they incurring all kinds of debt coming out of university with $100,000, $200,000 student loan that they have to pay back? You can't claim bankruptcy with your student loans. And are they getting value for the dollar? So what is your opinion, Junior, on this thing here? Are we getting value for the dollar?
Well, I think you can break it down to three categories, of course. Primary education up to grade 8, high school, and then the university. Now, the primary education I got no problem with, because kids, let's face it, it's beneficial. They have to learn to read and write. They have to learn to do basic math, this type of thing. That I basically don't have too much of a problem with. The high school one is a little bit different. I mean, by that time, you'll notice a lot of people, the Amish and Mennonites, they only send their kids to grade 8 or 9. Basically, I think that's all you really need. But I think it's probably a good idea that the kids stay till they're, I guess it would be 17 now, because it's grade 12. We used to go to grade 13. But
yes.
And basically, I know that a lot of it is unnecessary. By the time you get to high school, a lot of it's more of a social thing. But for those kids that are going to pursue a profession, it is necessary. I mean, Frankie went to be an engineer. You have to have high school and of course university to be a professional. If you're going to be a true professional, which would be like the engineering, doctor, dentist, chiropractor, all these type, accountant. But the vast majority of kids that are going through high school don't end up into these professions.
Right.
Even though I think high school, even though a lot of it's unnecessary, I could see it, because basically kids aren't really mature even at 17 when they finish high school, 18. What are they going to do? It's more of a social thing, you know what I'm saying? And I could see maybe that. The big problem I see is with the universities, which are 2/3 subsidized by the taxpayers.
Yes.
And 80% of the courses, students will never get a job in what they're taking. It's totally irrelevant to the economy and to the needs of the people. I mean, it's very simple. It's very simple to see. You just ask, what do people need every day? Well, we know we need doctors. People have to go to the hospital. We know we need dentists.
Yeah.
We know we need, veterinarians for our pets. We need chiropractors. We need pharmacists. We need accountants. Unfortunately, we need lawyers. So I mean, other than these type of profession, architects, other than professions where you could see, okay, there's a need for them, they serve a purpose in the economy and society. Other than those, the other ones are completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
And the only job you're going to get is a government job, hired by the government. Because basically it's not needed in society. It's not needed in, we don't need sociologists. We don't really need psychologists. We don't need all these people taking these, cultural anthropology and all these different, there's so many different courses they have now.
Yes.
Gender studies and it's and you ask yourself, well, what skills are they going to acquire in these subjects so that they're going to be able to go out in the world and earn a living?
Exactly.
They're totally irrelevant. They're not, you're much better off you're much better off, that other 80% that goes to university, instead of going to university, you're much better off to go into something, a skill or a trade or something that the people need,
Yes.
that you will be in demand, all your life, basically.
Yes.
I mean, as an electrician, I'm in demand for all my life. There's always plumbers, anything with a skill, even like a barber, something like that, a roofer, a landscaper. These are all things that, I mean, they're lifetime jobs. It's like writing it's phenomenal the amount of work that you could get. The only problem is they involve physical labor.
Yes.
And I think this is why these people don't want to do it.
Right.
They don't want to do hard work. They don't want to do any work. Never mind hard work. They don't want to do any work, like a lot of the teachers.
Yes.
And they want the government job. They want,
Yeah.
and I mean, there's only so many of those you can have. Otherwise, you're going to bankrupt because they don't produce any wealth.
Right.
These jobs, they're
Right.
not wealth producing.
Right.
Wealth is goods and services. So either you're manufacturing something, you're producing, you're selling, or including resources too, or you're providing a service. It's one or the other. I mean, these other positions, these other jobs, I mean, these other university courses, they're a dead end.
Dead end.
You come out and nobody needs you for it. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're basically useless.
Right.
You would have
You're
been
basically useless.
You would have been
yeah.
much better off to acquire a skill or a trade, or even become a technician, and at least you'll be employed.
Right.
You have something. These jobs here, like you say, you end up in the service industry. You end up.
I think the other way that the kids get bamboozled is this. They think in high school, I want to be a psychologist. Okay, great, we do need psychologists. The problem is you got a city of 500,000 people. What is there, 20, 30 psychologists? But we got 10,000 kids in school studying psychology in that province. So, yeah, there might be 20 jobs in a city for a psychologist, if that many. And you've got tens of thousands graduating out of these courses. So there's no work. Basically, there's no work. You're fooling yourself. And so I wonder to what degree, educators, teachers, like, I don't know if they're ignorant or if they are promoting professions that further entail their career, like keep them going as teachers. Like, are they stupid on the topic as to what's practical? I think I shared with you that I was asked a couple years ago to give talks on the trades, and I went into 60 classes, roughly 30 kids a class. I made 60 visits. That's 1,800 kids. And I would talk to the kids about the great organization Habitat for Humanity, and they offered a great co-op program, and that it was an opportunity for kids to get their feet wet with the trades. And then, of course, my talk expanded into the trades and just how much money you can make in the trades and what demand there is. You can't even find plumbers and framers and electricians, and you guys are always being called to work. And I talked to them about the wage. What do these people make? And right down to laying laminate floor. I says, if you're laying laminate floor and you're doing a room that's 20 by 50, doing 100 square feet, and you're charging $2 a square foot, you're making a good buck. And you do the job in less than a day. And a lot of these are cash jobs. I did tell the kids that. So you're not even paying taxes. Like, you can make money in these skilled trades, in almost any skilled trade, and you can make a good living and provide a good life. Anyway, out of the 1,800 kids, 2 expressed interest.
Well, yeah, it's the same even when I went to school. They discouraged, working in the trades or stuff like this. It was always, you got to go to university, get an education. This was always their line. I think it's it's a scam. Let's face it.
It's a scam, yeah.
Right. They're just trying to promote their industry, and like I say, when you think of all the students graduating, only about 20% actually graduate in fields that are considered professions where, they're needed by society. Society needs them. The economy needs them. We need them. And if you look at even the United States, the STEMS programs, it stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. They can't get enough of them in those fields. They're all in the other field. They actually, believe it or not, there's a shortage in the STEMS fields. I mean, it's so overloaded in the humanities and the arts and that. There's actually a shortage. These Microsoft and the Silicon Valley, they can't get American kids. There's not enough of them coming out of the STEMS programs. They have to go to Asia and get these kids, bring them over because. So why aren't they promoting in the high schools more STEMS programs? Getting kids to go into the STEMs as opposed to the other.
Right.
They're not doing this.
Right.
They're not doing this. A lot of it might be, let's face it, a lot of people are not capable of graduating in a STEMs program.
Right.
But there's still
difficult programs.
very difficult, but there's still a lot that are that could be going for something, a STEMs program, that are not, and they're in some other program that's going to actually lead to absolutely nowhere.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's mind-boggling. But the difference is, in the States, you pay in university the full amount unless you get a scholarship.
Yes.
In Canada, the government pays for 2/3.
Right.
And I think if I was in charge, what I'd like to see is free education at university for everybody in a STEMS program or similar program. And the other programs, you can pay 100% if you want to go. If you want to go in.
Interesting.
You can pay
So
the
if you
whole
want to take a sociology, a cultural studies, this studies, and that studies, they have no real jobs at the end. You pay yourself.
You pay the whole shot.
But if you're going to go into programs that, like the STEMs,
That we need, yes.
that we need,
Pay the whole, have the government pay for the whole thing.
Right.
I mean, that will give incentive, especially like in the United States. They could subsidize the STEMs. And that would give incentive to more of these kids to go into these programs as
Right.
opposed to the other ones. Because why should they have to bring in hundreds of thousands of foreigners in their country because their own citizens are not fulfilling the need?
yes,
Why don't they try and steer, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I think the humanities and the arts, they've always had stronger because, the people that run everything, the politicians, they come from that sort of background.
Yes,
They
yes.
think they know it all, and
Yeah.
most of them, you very seldom see a politician that's an professional engineer.
right.
Because he probably knows he's wasting his time, and
Yeah.
even a slug construction worker like myself, I would feel embarrassed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
To
Just
say you're a
talking
politician.
all day, not producing anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? I would
right.
be in bed to say. So this is
It's
why.
like Trump said, he says, I'm embarrassed to call myself a
Yes,
politician.
exactly. He says, he apologized for becoming, and it's true. So it does. The people that are in those programs gravitate to these sort of positions of power and influence.
Yes.
And they're not going to shoot themselves in the foot.
No.
And give the STEMs the upper hand, and you know what I mean.
Right.
But so this is basically what you're dealing with.
What about the trades? Why aren't the kids going into the trades where there's work and there's money?
Well, because I think, like I said,
You think it's the physical labor?
yeah, they're discouraged from early on from going into that, and yes, it has a lot to do with it. We went from a society where our father was going on the farm and picking when they were young to make some money and digging ditches, to where all these kids want to do now is look at a screen and push buttons.
Yeah.
They don't want to do any physical. They don't even play anymore. Never see them outside playing sports. Very rarely. They don't go on hikes. They don't go on. It's basically most of these kids are in the house, looking at their screen and pushing buttons.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're not gonna. They're just not.
And we end up with obesity problems. It'll be interesting to see the lifespan of this generation coming up in terms of, because of their health, not being physical, not working physically throughout their life.
But I think they have drugs to counteract that inactivity. And if you look at like high blood pressure pills and stuff, I think they're still going to live longer. They won't be as healthy. I mean, the kids
Interesting.
today are nowhere near as healthy as we were. Obviously, if you look at the obesity rates and everything.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be as healthy. I don't think it really will affect the life expectancy. I think that's going to keep going up and up.
Yes.
It's getting to the
Yes.
point where they can just keep about anybody alive with enough,
Yes.
pills and different procedures. So it's just the quality of life. It won't be nowhere near as these kids today. They don't seem happy. They don't seem. It's just a different generation.
Yes. Okay, now if our listeners out there are the teens, what do you have to say to them in terms of what are some great trades they can get into, even though we know they're not really interested, but let's pretend they are interested. And a kid asked you, okay, Junior, what trade, what do you recommend that's really in demand that I can make a good buck and live a good life?
Well, first of all, I would say I would still recommend university. But like I say, if you're going for something,
Yes,
that's going
but no, those that aren't going in the direction of the professions.
Okay.
Those that are going, they're going, okay, I'm going to get a degree in theology or philosophy or sociology or psychology and end up in a coffee shop. Those kids, look at what can they consider in the trades that are great trades that make a good buck.
Well, I can only speak from personal experience. I retired a couple of years ago. I was making $36 an hour. I'd be making $40 an hour right now, and that's a non-union electrician.
Non-union electrician.
Yes.
And what does that translate in a year?
That's just not counting overtime. That's $80,000 a year.
$80,000
before any overtime.
Before overtime,
benefits.
yeah.
Now they have benefits with that company and everything. So that's $80,000 just basic. Now most of the trades are the same. They pay about the same. Some are a little more. Like refrigeration mechanic is about the highest. But HVAC, which is heating, ventilation, air conditioning, it's a good trade.
Yes.
Plumber, of course, you're always going to be busy. Mechanic, carpenter, the main trades, they're all basically about the same. You'll all make about the same. Now, if you start your own company and you'll make more.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You'll make even more. And if you get into the union, you'll make an extra probably 10, probably it's over 50 now. I mean, you might not work all year because a lot of times they get laid off in the union. The big jobs aren't happening and that. But you're still going to make. So, I mean, they're similar.
Yeah.
But those are what they call skilled trades. But you also have what they call just skills.
Skills.
Which would be like a baker or a barber, and these people all make good money.
They all make good money.
They all make, probably if you do it for yourself, you're going to make probably even more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you said, even laying a floor.
Yeah.
A floor guy. You know, I mean, something like that. Even painter.
Yeah.
Painter. There's what they call semi-skilled trades, and that would be like painter and stuff like that.
Yes. Yes.
And all of them, I mean, they all do well.
They all do well.
You know, they all do well. Anybody that starts their own business too will do well.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So there's so many options out there. There's so many different things that these kids could be doing.
Right.
As opposed to having to go work at McDonald's or somewhere like that.
Yes.
I mean, in our day, we could just, if we didn't want to do the trades and we didn't want to go to university, we could go down to Dofasco, Stelco,
yeah, they were all
Westinghouse,
hired, and they all paid good.
Procter and Gamble,
Right.
Harvester. It just goes on and on.
Yeah.
There was nothing. But
Kids
those,
don't have that
the
today.
jobs were all shipped overseas.
Right.
Globalism and that.
Yeah.
So
thanks to our
now,
politicians. Yeah.
exactly. So now the option is, I guess, the university route, or I think the trades.
Trades
Skills
and
route.
skills. Yes.
I think that's the other route. But
Yeah.
the problem is, like you were saying, these kids, they all want to go to university, take a course that's really meaningless,
Yes.
does not have any, and end up as either teachers or working for the government in some avenue, but
Yeah.
not really providing an essential service.
No.
Not really producing anything in terms of
You know, we have a big community college here in town. I got their curriculum program. And I said, I'm going to go through this. It's a thick, paperback, maybe 300 pages. And the print is fairly small. So there's just literally hundreds and hundreds of courses and programs. making crafts, creative writing, business, business this, a business that. There's 40 different business courses. But when you look at them and you look at the synopsis of the course, you say, where's the job in this? Like these kids can, even when they take diplomas and degrees in something that sounds good, like, oh, a business degree. What business degree? Go out and start your own business. What's a business degree? Where do you work with a business degree?
Well, I agree, and this is why I tried to get my nephew Matt to become an accountant, as opposed to a business degree, which he got a commerce degree with a minor in economics, and now he's unemployed, looking for, so this is the whole thing. I mean, business degrees basically are useless. You could tell, ask PJ, his friends in merchandising, who went to merchandising, they're all basically saying, now, would you like fries with that?
Yeah.
And the one friend he had that went into accounting is making $200,000 a year. So this is what I'm saying.
Right.
That these courses, most of the business courses they're not worth nothing.
No.
You know what I mean? And these other courses you're talking about, Mohawk and everything, that's fine. As long as the people taking them should be paying for it. You shouldn't be having teachers and using facilities of the school, and meanwhile the taxpayers paying for it. Let them pay for it. If they want to take these, I call them hobby courses.
Yes.
I call them hobby courses. If they want to take the hobby courses,
Right.
let them pay for it.
Right.
But the other courses, the courses that we need, basically what they're doing is they're robbing from the need that the courses that are in demand, they're robbing from them to pay for their basically useless courses.
They're using up a lot of money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, apparently, from PJ says, the arts program, the arts the section of the university has all the high tech, all the science labs and everything. Everything's broken and half the stuff doesn't work.
Whoa.
I mean, this is again getting what I was saying about the
Yeah.
people that get into power are always the ones that were in the history and the humanities and political science.
Yes.
Never the ones that were in the engineering, the science, and the
Right.
technology, this type of thing.
Right.
So they channel all the money and all the resources to the programs that are basically useless.
Yes.
These programs are basically useless. They've got nothing to do with anything. They really should be, like I say, done on their own. Do them on your own dime.
Yeah.
Don't charge the taxpayers. It's billions and billions of dollars that they're spending on these.
Well, education's bankrupting us.
Yes.
There's no question about
Yes,
it. You look at our
exactly.
debt, you look at our deficit, you look at our debt. It's killing us, and we got to do something about it. But
And they're not making the kids, if you look at the curriculums and everything, they're not making the kids any better. They're making it worse.
Yes.
Because basically it's mostly indoctrination.
yeah,
And even when I went to school, English should be, there should be a lot of technical stuff to it. It should be actually difficult. Even when I went back in the 70s, it was basically a philosophy course, a sociology course. They, would give you their views and all this, and you would read stories and have to do an essay.
Yes,
and then
that's
you would
exactly what we did,
basically make up stuff in the essay according to what teacher you had. You
Yeah.
kind of knew what they would like to hear. So you'd make none of it was technical.
No.
And I could never understand this because when you write the SAT or the ACT, it's half verbal, half mathematical. So it's identical to an IQ test. It's half verbal and half mathematical.
Yes.
But all the verbal, you never learn that. They never teach you to critically think. They don't teach you the technical side. They teach you some nonsense like stories that you read and everything, and then you do essays. And you notice everybody in English gets a B or B minus or C. Nobody gets 100%.
No.
Everybody kind of gets the same mark, I mean, they don't even teach it properly. I would sooner have them play Wheel of Fortune. It takes more intelligence. At least you have to think. What is the word? What is the sentence? And fill in the blanks.
Right.
Fire some of those neurons in the brain, as opposed to this indoctrination, which they teach in English and humanities courses.
Yes.
They don't teach you to think. They just indoctrinate you.
Yeah.
So other than that, other than the maths and sciences, all these other courses are just regurgitate, memory, or indoctrination.
Yes.
And this is another problem I have with the education system. And now Ford in Ontario is changing this. He's making the teachers have to actually all go and take math and get a 70 in it. So at least they have to have a little bit of a brain. You know what I mean? And he's trying to change the way they're teaching the math, because Wynn had us take this, I don't know what you call it, LBGT math or something, where the kids, our test scores have dropped dramatically in math in Ontario.
Yeah.
It's been all over the news, actually.
Yeah.
And no wonder why they've dropped. Look at what they're teaching them. They're not even teaching. So this is another problem too. It's the actual, what they're actually teaching them.
Yes.
The content
absolutely.
and the course. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
It really, like I say, I'd sooner have them play Hangman or some of those games we used to play where at least you had to think.
Yeah.
Better yet, just give them a set of instructions. See if they can understand. You know what I mean? Give them something, some critical reading. But the stuff that they teach now, it's all, like I say, it's indoctrinations, it's stories, essays, and everybody gets the same answer. I don't know how that improves your, cognitive ability. I think it actually makes you stupider.
Yeah. Well, Junior, we're coming to the end of another great podcast here with you. Thanks for being with us today and enlightening us on this topic of education. And our message, I think, to young people who are listening is, don't be conned by what you're told. Be open-minded to other areas of work. And if you don't like physical work, get to like it, because you'll have a good life with it.
And don't listen to your guidance teacher.
And don't listen. Well, listen, thanks for joining us today. And thanks to Junior for enlightening us today on this very important topic of education. And we hope to hear from you through our email, drdrpodcast@yahoo.com. That's Doctor, short form podcast @yahoo.com. And we're wishing you all a very good and happy day.